Now that we've got all three ad types set up in our project, banner, interstitial, and rewarded video, we need to export our project from Construct. Since we're creating a mobile game, we need to use Cordova to export the project, and then build it with either Phonegap or Cocoon. Before you export your project, make sure to fill out all of the information in the About section. Make sure your project has a name, version number, description, ID, author, email, and website filled out. Once you've got everything filled out, click on Home and choose Export Project. From here, we want to choose Cordova and hit Next. Here, you can choose where you want to export your project to. I'll just export it to a folder on my desktop. You can leave everything else as it is. If you want your script to be minified, you can leave this box checked. This plugin does allow the script to be minified. I'll click Next. Now, if you have Use New Intel XDK project format selected, go ahead and uncheck it. You can set any permissions you need to use and how you'd like to export the audio files. Down here, under Minimum Supported OSs, we can set the minimum version of Android or iOS that we want to build for. If you choose below Android 5.0, a crosswalk file will be added to your project, causing the file size to go up. Crosswalk is like a mini browser that's used on older operating systems to ensure a common user experience over different devices. I'll choose 4.1 and up, and click Export, and Construct will start to export the project. Once it's finished exporting, click Open Destination Folder. Here, we have our exported project, but before we can build it, there's a couple things we need to do. First, go into the www folder and delete the Intel XDK.config XML file. We don't need it. Now, go back up to the parent folder. Here, we've got a config XML file, which contains the project settings that we filled out inside of Construct. If you're planning on building with Cocoon, you can ignore this file and skip this step. But if you're building with Phonegap, you might need to edit this config file. If you're only targeting Android versions of 5.0 and up, you don't need to edit the config file. But we're building for version 4.1 and up, and in that case, we have to edit the config file. Go ahead and open the config file with Notepad. First, we're building this game for Android devices, but if you're building the game for iOS, you need to change Android here in Cocoon plugin adds Android Admob to iOS. I'll change it back to Android. When building for Android devices and targeting any version before 5.0, we have two processor types we can target, x86 or ARM. The default is to build for x86, even though the vast majority of Android devices use an ARM processor. x86 is used with emulators, however. If you leave the config file as it is, when we build it in the next video, it will build for x86. That's what you'll want to do if you're going to run the game on your computer on an emulator. But if you want to target ARM devices, which most likely your phone is, you'll need to add one line of code here at the bottom. Instead of typing it all out, I'll put this line of code in the description, so you can just copy and paste it. You can't post angle brackets in the description, so the code will be missing its opening and closing brackets. So just enter opening and closing brackets, and then paste the code between them. And then go ahead and save the config file. The last thing we need to do before we move on to building our project is to add everything to a zip file. We'll be using this zip file to upload to Phonegap or Cocoon to build our finished product. If you're building with Phonegap, you need to include this config file in the zip folder that you upload. Just select everything inside the folder and add it to a zip file. This will be the file we use to build on Phonegap. If you are building with Cocoon, we don't need this config file. We'll be entering these details in ourselves on the Cocoon website. So go inside the www folder and select everything and add that to a zip file. This will be the file we use to build on Cocoon. In the next video, we'll take a look at how to export our project from Construct 3 and how to prepare it for being built on either Phonegap or Cocoon.